I'll give everybody just a minute or two to get back on or to get online and to realize that we're here and we have started part one of our challenge. So this is the Mood and Money Challenge. How to have and enjoy sales conversations on any platform. So that's what we're doing. Hey there, Ash. We're doing this conversation about money. So this is a big deal. This is something that we talk about a lot, that we hear about a lot. And we wanted to do a fun challenge. For all of you pros out there who are doing it, you're doing well in your business. You've got lots of great things happening in your business. But this one thing kind of keeps coming up. Your creative souls. And you know what it is that you want to bring to your clients and you're doing it. But when it comes to the income, when it comes to asking for the sale, when it comes to partnering, there is some awkwardness. And so this challenge is going to help with that tremendously. And we'll have some fun along the way. So as you pop in, let us know who you are and what your business is. You guys can even share your links here if you'd like. Love to see that. Love to see who you are, what you're doing. If you've got any big projects coming up, we want to know what's happening in the world of our people. So let us know. Just giving it just a few more seconds. Hey, Danny. It's telling me you're requesting to be on live with me. Oh, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that soon with the Bold and Booked. All right. So we're going to go ahead and dig into the material as usual. You know, usually if you follow me, if you've been to some of our events, we usually do this on Zoom. And we thought we would do a few of them on Instagram. But it's still that open platform. So use the comment section to put in your comments. Danny's laughing. And answer the questions. If you're watching this after the live is finished, you can do the same thing. Just put it in comments. I think your live comments won't actually show on the post. I'm not sure. But you can just do that. And if I can see them and I can answer questions and also, of course, ask questions along the way. So when we're talking about sales conversations, what does that really mean? And is it something that every business needs? The answer to that is yes. You don't have a business without a sales conversation. Everybody has to have them. And the thing is, we have them in numerous ways. And sometimes we don't even realize that it is a sales conversation, but we know we're uncomfortable. So what are some of the ways that we have sales conversations, thus the any platform that we're talking about? Okay. So I've got my trusty note list here. I'm loving doing these little checklists. All right, so it's any time that you have a call to action. So you may know that. You've been around for a while. You know that it's usually when it's time to ask for something, you're going to give someone a direction. That's that call to action, and that's where some awkwardness can happen. It could be an invitation to join even something free. When we're in teaching mode and we're teaching and providing value, that feels good, right? We can demo how to do a blend. We can demo how to make a lotion. We can show people, their meridian points and how to soothe and all these things. But when it comes to the part where you say, grab my lead magnet, grab my free recipe, grab this list of blends, grab this or that, join up for this, sign up for this, there's a little discomfort sometimes. All right. So that's what we're talking about here. All right. So with people especially at a more senior level in business, how does it affect us? So we've already had a number of sales conversations because we're selling. We have clients, we have regular clients. So where does it show up for the more seasoned professional? Usually it comes in very similar ways when it's time to ask for something. It's just that the ask, usually at that senior level, is a little bit more significant. So when does it happen? It could be an investor conversation. Someone is looking to invest in your business. Some of you have sold businesses, so being able to have that conversation with someone who's looking to purchase your business. Some of you are working with partners or want to work with partners who are serving your audience in a similar, doing similar things, but in a different way, similar audience, but serving in a different way. And you want to partner with them because that expands your reach. You know, we've talked about that. So that is some of the things. You are talking in person. So senior level seasoned professionals, we do a lot of workshops. We do a lot of workshops, events, summits. And a lot of those are in person these days, right? So whether it be in person or online, we're doing those things. It's interviews. Anytime someone's interviewing you, it could be on a podcast or a video show. It could be at your local news station. It could be at a summit or a conference where you've been invited to speak or be interviewed to tell your story, things like that. And there the nerves go. Even just talking about this, right? Just talking about being on that stage, whether it's virtual or in person, can get the nerves going. Okay, so what else do we have? Media invitations. So here's the thing. Sometimes just getting that invitation, I've seen so many people talk themselves out of opportunities because they feel like, oh, you know, I'm not ready. I do have an offer, have something to talk about, but I don't want to put myself in a situation where people are now going to be asking me to join my school, join my program, and it's not ready yet. And so they will talk themselves out of it. So sometimes even getting that invitation, that awkwardness can start and we'll talk ourselves out of it. All right. So that is one of the things that can happen. The other sales conversation comes when you're talking to your clients and your students. This is current and also prospective. Okay. So prospective people who are looking at your school, prospective people who are looking to join your program, to come to your practice, to become a patient, to become a client, right? It is those conversations in particular that people at our level can choke. Because when it comes to presenting, you're doing your workshop, you're teaching, again, that area is comfortable until it's time to ask people to make a decision to invest in you in one way or the other. And sometimes it is a current client, right? You want to hold on to that client. You want to work with that client further. And you've built a relationship and rapport. And the nerves come in of, oh, I don't want them to think that I'm just wanting them to spend more money. Ever have that happen? How many of you are going to be brave and put in comments, oh, goodness, I've had that happen. I'm talking to someone about signing up for my program or re-signing up, and I feel like they think I just want money when I really want to serve this person. Right? So people at our level, that is something that is uniquely difficult, are those sales conversations, especially when it's like a VIP thing, or especially if it's someone renewing, or especially if it's something that's like a higher ticket offer, and especially if someone is already invested in us. Isn't that interesting? They've already shown that they trust you, they like you, they want to be taught by you. And yet sometimes the closer we get to a person or a situation, the more awkward we feel about asking for that investment. How many of you have experienced that? I've seen people be offered things such as family members, well-to-do family members, or people that they know fall in love with their business idea and want to invest. And then it's just like, no, but what if it doesn't go well? And now this person that I love has put some money into this. So all of those kinds of things can happen and make us freeze. Okay, so this is what we're talking about when we're talking about sales conversations on any platform. It is any time that you are moving into a call to action, or you're asking someone to invest in you, whether it be their time and mostly their resources, we're talking about their financial resources. This is where we have a lot of difficulty. So now we're going to talk about how we can get beyond this. All right. So the question we want to ask, and a lot of you in my community you're going to know the answer to this because you are emotional support experts. You are clinical professionals. You're licensed therapists and counselors and aromatherapists who help people with things like trauma and depression and anxiety. And you know where these things come from. So I'm going to ask you a question. This feeling, this mood about those sales conversations and about money, true or false, it predates your business. That mood, that feeling about money, about asking someone to invest, predates your actual business, that feeling. Give me a true or false. Is that true or false? So make sure you answer even if you're watching this later. I want to see how many of you know that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's true. So we know that. We know that it predates that. It predates your first job. It predates your first relationship. It goes all the way back. Now let me ask you pros this, because I know you know this. What years, usually, are these things imprinted on our mind and heart? What years in our life, typically, are these things imprinted? Let's see what you got for me on that. I'd love to see that. And this is a little bit behind, so I'm going to keep going. So we know that it's usually those early years, those formative years, or a significant event in life. So sometimes we think it's only in those formative years, those first few years, age 0 to 7, is what we say a lot of times. But it can also happen with a big event in life, a death of someone, a graduation, a job offer, losing a job, a parent losing a job, big events in life. It can also give us that scar. All right. So what I want you to do, I'm going to be giving you some detailed homework in just a minute. These aren't going to be very long because we want to jump in. I want you to spend most of the time in this challenge doing your homework. But I wanted to share this with you because these are the things I want you to be thinking about. These are some of the things that I heard in childhood from role models, adults, teachers, counselors, people who I would look up to and can kind of sum you up. You know what I mean? Do we know who we're talking about here? All of us have probably had different experiences, and it's particularly people in that level in your life that can be the ones that will imprint these things and not even mean to. We're not even talking about abusive situations. We're talking about just regular situations where people are just talking, would not even remember it in a million years, but your young self, it imprinted on you something that you're still dealing with. And that's what our homework is going to be around. But I want to share some of these things with you because it's the things that I needed to overcome to get where I have in my business and to stay there. So that's another thing. We can get to like a 6+ figure business, but can we stay there? And a lot of times just getting there can be a challenge if we're not comfortable with these sales conversations. Okay. So a lot of you, you're like, oh, I'm doing really well in my business. I'm signing people up. But what's your profit? I want you to be looking at that. That's something we're going to talk more about another day. Just having clients and having people sign up is not the same as having a particular profit margin. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in another conversation. But getting back to this mood, it is the mood that we have about ourselves. That person that you're looking at when you go live and you're looking at yourself in that camera, or that person that you're looking at in the mirror. It's your mood about that person, how you feel about her, how you talk to her, you know, how connected you are and how much you understand who that person is staring back at you. It's not about perfection or saying, oh, you know, this person's fantastic. You're amazing. You do everything just right. No, we're aware of where we may need to adjust, but we can have those conversations with ourselves with love once we get beyond this point, and it dramatically impacts your relationship with money. Let's talk about some of these things that I heard as a kid. I wrote them down for you, the ones that came to mind. And I'm going to be asking you in your homework, so I'll kind of tell you your homework now. Your homework is going to be, what childhood memories come up for you when you think about things that could potentially have formed your feeling about you and your worthiness. It's you and your worthiness. So this is the first part of what happens with this whole money conversation. All right. It's difficult to ask someone to invest in someone that you don't believe in, that you think will let them down, that's not worthy of the conversation. And so way back, if we're imprinted on that, and then you go to present yourself to someone or say what you can do for them, if you're not believing that or trusting that person or loving that person, it's going to be really difficult to have that conversation, because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this is not going to pan out. And how can I ask for XYZ? Well, I'm going to screw it up, right? It's that mood about the person you see in the mirror. So here's some of the things that I heard. All right. Oops. You're weird. I had so many notes here. You're so awkward. Over and over and over. I would hear that from different people. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? So when I was, one of the memories that pop up, no doubt even having this conversation, things are popping up for you and you're remembering things. It took me much longer than most children to do 3 things: to learn how to tell time, to learn how to button buttons, such a simple thing, right? And tie my shoe. So early on, I thought, okay, something's missing. Something's missing. Like everybody else is doing this and I'm not doing it. So early on, there was that thing that was just like, I don't know about you. All right. You're not pretty. Heard that a lot. You're not pretty enough for this. So I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. There's a story behind that. You are so black. You're pretty for a black girl. 2 different things. Your hair is so nappy. You're not good enough to do this particular thing. So where did that come in at is when I was like teenager years. I really wanted to be a model. And so I was asked to be a part of a few shows, which was really exciting. And there were recruiters at the time. I don't know if they still do this. These recruiters would go around and find people that they thought would be great in these shows. And it was things like department stores and those sound familiar. Yeah. Department stores and things like that. And they would have shows. 2 stand out to me. There was one, I still remember the lady, this tall, beautiful, blonde-haired lady. And somebody had recruited me, one of the girls in the show. And they said, oh, we have somebody that we want to add to the show because you told us to be on the lookout for some great faces. And she's tall and she's thin and she's beautiful. And I'm just beaming, right, to be a part of it because it was a goal of mine at the time. And I can still see the look on that lady's face of pure disgust. And she said, why did you bring her to me? Right in front of me, I'm sitting right there. Why did you bring her to me? And so they say, well, we thought that she would be great. And this is a beautiful young woman. She was also blonde. And we had bonded over the fact that she had hair down to her back and she had cut it all off in this cute little short pixie cut specifically for the show. And we had been talking about that. And I thought she was so cute and she thought I was so cute. And so we were like, oh, let's do this together. And she was so disgusted, my little friend, and she almost wanted to leave the show. And I was like, no, you do it. I'm just not a good fit for it. And I remember in that moment thinking, okay, there's limits to my beauty. There's limits to it. And that was already something I had overcome because as a younger kid, I just thought I was really ugly because that's what I heard most of the time. Oh man, so-and-so is so pretty and this and that, and compared a lot. But I had overcome some of that because, you kind of grow out of your awkward phase. And I started getting these invitations to model. Okay, another one. This one, I was invited to the show and it was a hair show. But it was a hair and clothes and we were going to do a full-on fashion show. And this, I was actually in my early 20s, I think. Maybe 19 or 20 when I did this one. All right, so this is why I say it's not only in those formative years, it's other experiences too that can come about in imprint on you. So I will never forget. It was a group of girls. It was so diverse. And for back in that time, so we're talking about early 90s. And it was really diverse. So we had somebody who was kind of shapely. She was a plus size. We had a redhead. We had somebody with dark hair. We had an Asian person, and then me, and then there was somebody else. I can't remember. But we were so excited about this show, right? So we practiced and we had our outfits and all these things. And then there was a famous hair designer who flew in from Europe, and he was going to be the one to do everyone's hair. And that's where I heard, oh my gosh, your hair is so nappy. Like you're too black. You're too black. And your hair is so nappy. There's nothing I can do with your hair. And I felt this big. And everybody else had these beautiful styles and their makeup. He couldn't do my makeup or my hair. No idea. And again, the look on the face was like, you don't fit. You don't fit here. So when you have that, what happens in the brain? Give me some comments. What happens in the brain when that's kind of repeated over and over? What happens in the brain? So thankfully, in that case, I had lots of friends who did hair. And I just got somebody else, and they did these beautiful knots on my hair. It was like an African style, and we just really did it up. And I was so proud to be in that fashion show, and I lit up the stage. So it was an important moment for me, because even though I felt that big, something about me that I learned is that I will go for it, even in the embarrassment. Even in the uncertainty, I'll still try and I'll still do it, right? So these are the things that we need to be working on when it comes to our mind and our mood when it comes to us. It is shifting. It is, first of all, figuring out what those times are, allowing ourselves to kind of remember. Now, as you do this exercise, if something is too painful, I always tell you, just back away. We don't need to be reliving things that are going to be too triggering. But if you're feeling comfortable and you can connect back, this is what I want you to do for your homework. And you can just have it for your own journal, or you can share it with my office, support@aromaspecialist.com. You can send it over if you want us to take a look at it, or it can just be for your particular notes. So what you're going to be doing for today's homework, and until we meet again, and I think we meet again on Thursday, we wanted to space these out so that you had plenty of time to do your part of the challenge. So you listen to the little talk that I'll give each time, and then you'll go and do the challenge. Okay. And so Ashley says, those comments don't go away. They imprint on your brain. Yeah. It can greatly affect your self-esteem and self-worth. Yeah. And so we have to get it out. We have to erase and replace what was told in a way that we actually believe it. Really important. So we would have to change that conversation in a way where we actually believe it. Isn't it interesting that would connect back to how we feel about money in those conversations? But it's all about self-esteem. If we don't possess that self-esteem, then we're going to be nervous to ask someone to invest in our services, because we're asking them to invest in us. And so you have to be in that space where you believe it to your core, to your toes. You know that you can deliver, and you know who you are and what it is that's special about you and that you can provide, right? And sometimes we don't know those things. And of course, that's something that we help people with in our programs, is that we will talk to them and coach them and mentor them and partner with them through some of those thoughts and feelings so that they can start to feel really comfortable about asking the world to invest in them at another level. So here's your homework. I want you to make a list of conversations, comments that you remember that imprinted on your brain and affected your feeling about money. The way it affected your feeling about money is that it affected your feeling about you. So what are some of those things that you heard, you felt, you saw, you experienced that gave you the conversation And these things will just pop up as you're listening to this. Like, they'll just pop up. Think of your childhood and think about big events in your life. What did you hear? What did you experience that made you, and even if you've overcome it, you see how I still remember those things and I've overcome it. And I have high ticket items and I've had them for years and 100% confident in offering those. My clients will tell you when I have sales conversations, I'm very comfortable because I know what I can do. And so I never feel that awkwardness of, ooh, can I say it? I always say it. And this is where you want to get to, because when you get to that point, the opportunities that will come to you will be massive in so many of those different ways. And all of those that I talked about earlier at the beginning of this are very important to expanding your business. You're going to need to have partnership conversations. You're going to need to be having investor conversations. You're going to be having conversations with current, previous, and prospective clients again and again and again. And if these things aren't comfortable and you don't feel excited and happy and sure in those conversations, it can make business miserable. And it can greatly take away from the joy and excitement that you feel and how you're able to affect your audience. You all, the people in my community, do very important work. And in order for people to benefit from that work, you have to be able to speak up. You have to be able to feel comfortable with people investing in you. And so that first portion of enjoying sales conversations is all about your mood about you. All right. So again, the homework is to write down the things, the conversations that you remember in childhood or in a big event that could have negatively impacted how you view you, even if you feel like you've gotten over it, how you view you. All right. So that's all you're doing. Write that up. Again, if you want me to review it or have a conversation with you about it, you can send it over to support@aromaspecialist.com, or you can just keep that for your notes and wait to hear about part 2. And I do believe it's on Thursday, but I'm not sure. You'll keep an eye out here on Instagram. The invitation will go up here. You'll set your reminder and we'll talk through the next phase. All right.